Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're looking at Chapter 8 of Book 1. We are continuing from the discussion of Chapter 7, which dealt with the question of the good. What is the good that we're trying to achieve? The good that is high, and therefore the highest good in a sense. The question of what's the highest good. We'll just look at the previous light that it's the good. In other words, we're concerned about the end or purpose. That it's um, uh, uh, the end or the good that is tied to the most choice worthy and complete. Right. So he continues it. One must examine what concerns it. Now, the nearest grammatical subject is beginning or principle. Right. Gautier and Joya, following Sushmail, object to this and suggest making a relatively small change in the readings of the manuscript from Altus to Altus, and referring it would be the good rather than the principle. Right? This is the argument. But the problem here is that this is the good. Gautier and Joly, following Sushmail, says we should change the it um, from alters to altu, and therefore it would be concerned to the good rather than the principle, right? So that is reasonable, but this is a problem how to do it. It concerns it. So therefore, the question here is the it. What is the it that is preferred? Because the first thing would be principles, right? The principles. But no, I think that is I think I think the Gautier and Joliffe are more correct in this sense because what is clearly being the subject is the good, because the good in that sense, right? So not only on the basis of the conclusion and the premises on which the argument rests, but also on the basis of things said about it. So therefore, we have to not only do it on the conclusions and the premises on which the argument rests, but also on the basis of the things said about the good, right? For with the truth, for with the truth, all the given facts harmonize. So the true things, the thing that is true, all the given facts would harmonize. But what is false, the thing soon hits a wrong note. This is a note of, therefore, in other words, a question of what the truth, all of the facts harmonize. With something that is false, the truth hits a wrong note. Something won't sound right. It won't harmonize. It won't harmonize. The facts won't harmonize. So this is a very interesting argument of this analysis. If everything harmonizes, probably we've got something that's true, valid. If something doesn't harmonize, it doesn't. Something that hit the wrong note, something's off key, disharmony, it doesn't all fit. Then there's something wrong. It's not true. Next paragraph. Now, although the good things have been distributed in a threefold manner, both both those goods said to be external on the one hand, and those pertaining to the soul and to the body on the other. So therefore, that's the threefold, right? The three distributed the things in the external, pertaining to the soul and pertaining to the body, right? We say that those pertaining to the soul are the most authoritative and especially good, the highest, right? And we posit that those pertaining to the soul and to the soul's actions and activity, in other words, we put that those goods pertaining to the soul, this not only the soul itself, but to the soul's actions and activities. As a result, the argument would be stated beautifully. Colon, would be stated beautifully, at least according to this opinion, which is ancient and agreed to by those who philosophize. So therefore, it's an ancient opinion, and all those who philosophize agreed to it, that there would be not only regarding to the thing that's posited this question of the goods that pertain to the soul, right, but also the soul's actions and its activities. And this is this and the and as a result, the argument. Now, the main verb here is Burnett follows logos, right? The argument here is therefore the logos, the reason, hence argument. Through definition of happiness is another possibility, right? The main verb is expressed here without the subject. And therefore, we're assuming logos. The verb is just the verb form, right? We harmonize with the argument. Okay. As a result, the argument would be stated beautifully, right? It says that, and this is how it's always been. It would be correct too to say that certain actions and activities are the end. So not only are they beautiful, not only noble, right? In other words, as a result, the argument would be be stated nobly, and that's that the goods of the soul pertains to the soul's actions and activities. Not only is this nobly said, it would be correct too to say that certain actions and activities are the end. For in this way, the end belongs among the goods related to the soul, not among the external ones. Okay, so therefore, it's interesting that therefore the highest good is that is relating to the soul, not external goods. So it would be correct to say that certain actions and activities are the end and ends of the soul, right? In this way, they belong to the ends of the soul, not towards external ones. And that the happy person both lives well and acts well. So therefore, the happy person is both lives and acts well, harmonizes with the argument. So therefore, the argument that the happy person is both a person both lives well and acts well harmonizes with the argument. For happiness was pretty much said to be a certain kind of living well and good action too. Good action or faring well, eupraxia, eupraxia. Good action or faring well, eupraxia. The abstract noun here is used in related to the word translated as action, throughout praxis. And the previous term in the sentence, acts well, upratin, can also be traded fares well, right? This is, okay, remember that it both act well, upratin is both acts well and fares well, right? So therefore, this is why we have this weird translation in the sense here that a certain kind of living well and good action. Living well and good action. Upratin, right? Upratin. Upraxia. Good action or faring well. Upraxia. Good action. That's weird. So living well and praxia. It is. It also appears that all the things being sought pertaining to happiness are included in what was said. So what was said above. In the opinion of some, happiness is a virtue. Of others, prudence. Of others, a certain wisdom. The opinion of some, happiness is virtue. For others, prudence is virtue. For others, a certain wisdom. In others, of still others. In the opinion of still others, it is these or some of these things, together with pleasure, or not without pleasure. So therefore, okay, there are certain, what are these things? What is pertaining to happiness? As was said, in the opinion of some, happiness is virtue, right? Others, it's prudence. Of others, it's a certain wisdom. Others, well, in the opinions of still others, it is some of these things together with pleasure or not or not necessarily with pleasure, but not without pleasure. And others include alongside these the prosperity related to external goods as well. So let's say, okay, you have to have prosperity as well, prosperity related to external goods. You need these external goods. In other words, external goods are goods not tied to either the body or to the soul. They're external. Like wealth is external good in that sense, right? Health is good to the body, but wealth is external good. And this is why this is weird in that sense. In that sense, others include alongside the prosperity related to external goods as well as these required. In other words, many of the ancients say some of these things. A few men of high repute say others of them, and it is reasonable that neither of these two groups be wholly in error, but rather they may be correct in one respect, at least, or even in most respects. So therefore, in other words, all these things, these people have said this. It appears that all things, this is what people have said. Now, the ancients said some of these things, and few men of high repute say others of them. But it's reasonable that neither of these two groups are wholly in error. They may be correct in one respect, or at least in most respects. That's it. Not completely in error. Pardon, little T. The argument, then, is in harmony with those who say that happiness is a virtue of or a certain virtue. For the activity is in accord with virtue, belongs to virtue. In other words, that there is saying that there's a harmony. There's a harmony. For the activity that is in accord with or agrees with virtue belongs to virtue. There's harmony in this. But perhaps it makes no small difference whether one supposes the best thing to reside in possession or use. So therefore, there's another one. Besides, it's not a small difference whether one supposes the best thing is to reside in possession or use. That is, in a characteristic or an activity. So this is where he starts getting in chapter 8 the question of the difference between a characteristic and an activity, something you possess and an action, something you do, right? Something you are versus something you do, right? This is 53. This is the first appearance of the important term hexis. Characteristic hexis, which is related to the verb insulin, which means to have, hold, or possess. Right? Hexis is therefore that characteristic, something to have, hold, or possess. And in conjunction with the adverb to be in a given state, a hexis is in the context of the exis is an ordered disposition or state or condition of soul produced by habituation and active especially in face of pleasure and pain, as Aristotle notes at the end of book 1. The praiseworthy characteristics are thus the virtues in a sense, right? So he says that true of the characteristic of a characteristic or activity. For it is possible that, although the characteristic is present, the hexis is present, it accomplishes nothing good. So a characteristic doesn't produce anything. It produces nothing good. For example, in the case of someone who is asleep or has been otherwise hindered. But this is not possible when it comes to an activity. Of necessity, a person will act. He will act well. Okay, so therefore, a characteristic may not have a benefit. It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. In other words, an activity, a characteristic accomplishes nothing. It does nothing. It does nothing. Achieves nothing. But a activity always does something. And a person who the person will act, and he will act well, right? For just as it is not the noblest and the strongest, the most beautiful and the strongest, who are crowned with the victory wealth in the Olympic Games, but rather the competitors. For it is certain, for it is certain of these, for it is certain of these who win. So it is also those who act correctly, who obtain the beautiful and good things in life. In other words, it's not just okay. It's not the noblest, the the one who's the cologne, the beautifulest, the most beautiful, cologne, the noblest, and the strongest, the one who most fine, fitting, most fitting, and the strongest are crowned with this, but rather the competitors, those who are competing, those who are doing it. So it's not the ones who, in other words, it's you don't the Olympic game doesn't pick simply the most beautiful and fine out there and award them the crown. No, they have to be they have to be competitors, and that they're the most beautiful and fine competitor, the act and the action of what they're doing, right? So this is also correct regarding the noble, the beautiful and good things in life. It's the one who pursues them and does them and acts, not who is, right? But their life is also pleasant in itself. But their life is also pleasant in itself. For feeling pleasure is among the things related to the soul. Okay, so the soul, there is a kind of pleasure in the soul, it says, and there's a pleasure for each person in connection with whatever he is said to be a lover of. In other words, in other words, 54 to 54. This is check here. The philia, the love here is philia, friendship, not eros. So this is why it's a friendship for a friendship. This is not a eros. He's said to be a friend of a philia. Okay, this is indicated to philia, not eros. Right. This is he is said to be a philia of. For example, a horse is pleasant to the horse lover, a play to the theater lover. So therefore, the thing that they're open towards, they're attracted towards, they're that see that's why erotic is better, and that's just the longing, right? The longing for it. There's the longing. Maybe if it was eros, we'd understand it, but pius philia. This is like attracted to something that you're attracted to it. You're drawn to it, like the lover in that sense. In the same manner, too, the just things are pleasant to the lover of the just, and in general, things in accord with virtue are pleasant to the lover of virtue. So therefore, this is like he's saying more examples. In the same manner, too, the the lover of just things are pleasant to the lover of justice, and the lover of virtue. The virtue is going to be things of virtue, things in accord with virtue are pleasant to this. Now, things pleasant may to the many do bad. The things pleasant to the many, the hoi polloi, right, do battle with one another because such things are not pleasant by nature. Ooh. So in other words, in other words, do battle with one another. The pleasant things that are pleasant to the many are the vulgar in that sense. The many, the hoi polloi, I think, are not pleasant by nature. That's interesting. Such things are not pleasant by nature, but to the lovers of what is beautiful, noble, cologne, the things pleasant by nature are pleasant. So we have to distinguish between the pleasant things by nature and the things that are uh, things that are pleasant by nature versus things that are not natural. The pleasant, they're not found in nature. In other words, and the many tend to like the artificial pleasant, not by nature, not present by nature. But the lovers of the noble, the beautiful, the things pleasant by nature are pleasant. Such too are the action in accord with virtue. or excellence, arete, right? With the result that they are pleasant both to such people and in themselves. So therefore, they're things in accord with virtue, which the result, which with the result that they are pleasant both to such people and in themselves. Indeed, the life of those who love what is beautiful, noble, cologne, has no need of additional pleasures. Like a sort of added charm, but possess pleasure in itself. In other words, they don't need additional pleasures. They don't need things added on to it. The lovers, those whose life, who are love of what is noble, has no need for additional charms. In other words, it's in itself is enough. That what possesses pleasure in itself. For in addition to the points mentioned, he who takes no delight in beautiful actions, noble actions, is not good either. So if you don't, in other words, if you don't enjoy doing good, you're not good. You're not. In other words, if you don't, if it doesn't give you pleasure doing good, if it gives you pain, doing good causes you pain, then then you're not good. You take no delight in no beautiful actions is not good either. For no one would say that somebody who does not delight in acting justly is just, or who does not delight in liberal actions is liberal. And similarly in the other cases as well. And if this is so, then the actions in accord with virtue or excellence, arete, would in themselves be pleasant. But certainly these actions are good as well as beautiful, noble, 55, right? Noble as well as good. There's what the manuscript noble and good as well as good. Okay, this is they are good as well. And another translation is noble as well as good. So therefore, um, one manuscript that flips it around. That one manuscript does this one. He's doing it good are good as well as beautiful, noble, cologne. In other words, cologne then good. Okay, and they will be, and they will be each of these especially, if in fact the serious spudaios, serious person, spudaios, beautifully, judges beautifully about them. And he judges as we said, and he judges them as we've said correctly. And that's it. As we have said, he judges finely or beautifully. Happiness, therefore, is the best, most beautiful, is the best, noblest, most beautiful, and most pleasant thing. Happiness is the best, noblest, and most pleasant thing. And these are not separated, as the inscription. In other words, the best, the Ariston, the Kalos, and the most pleasant. And these are not separated, as in the inscription that Delos has it. Noblest is what is most just, but best is to be healthy. The most pleasant by nature is for someone to obtain what he passionately desires. What is pleasant by nature is for what he most passionately desires. For all these are present in the best activities, and we assert that happiness is these activities, or the best one among them. In other words, all these are present in the best activities. In other words, they are happiness. Therefore, is the best, noblest, and most pleasant thing. And these are not separated, right? And it says, when he gives the example from the Delos, right? And he says that nonetheless, it now either happiness or the activity is grammatically possible subject. So the it here is either happiness or the best activity, right? Nevertheless, happiness manifests requires external good, or best activity requires external good in addition. So therefore, we need necessity good requires external goods, just as we said, for it is impossible not. For it is impossible or not easy for someone without equipment to do what is beautiful, noble, Cologne. Many things are done through instruments, as it were, through friends, wealth, political power, external goods, right? External things. Those who are bereft of some of these, for example, good birth, good children, or beauty, disfigure their blessedness. Right? Blessedness 57. Are bereft or disfigured. In the case poetic or tragic, and hence rare in Aristotle, right? So disfigure their blessedness. For a person who is altogether ugly in appearance, 58, Aristotle uses the term here, idea, a form, in this form, right? Eidos, form, a characters of Platonic doctrine in his primary sense of outward appearance, right? This is the form. Let's do this like this. In his appearance, the person who is ugly in their eidos, form, a person who is altogether ugly in his eidos, appearance, or look, external appearance, right? Or of poor birth, or solitary, or in childless, cannot really be characterized as happy. And he is perhaps still less happy if he should have altogether bad children, or bad friends, or through though he did or though he did have good ones, they are dead. In other words, okay, this is it's that not have any, that's bad enough, but then what happens if they were bad ones, or they had them and then they died, right? They had good ones, but just as just as we said, then happiness seems to require some external prosperity. In addition, now 59, the phrase attempts to capture the word urumiria, captured the phrase well emerita, whose components suggest having a good day or spending one days cheerfully. The word then came to mean being successful and enjoying luck. This word also appeared at this other part of the text. Urumiria. This is interesting. That's how he ends it, right? Eternal umera, so having a good day, requires such external propensity, umera. In addition, in other words, that happiness seems to require some external things. So that this umera, he says here, I think this is interesting, that a component is having a good day, spending one life cheerfully in that sense. This is why some make good fortune equivalent to happiness, and others virtue. That's why this is why some people argue good fortune is the equivalent of happiness, or the equivalent of virtue. No, they're necessary, but they're not happiness and they're not virtue, but they are a necessary precondition, right? Okay, this is what we'll end. We'll end it right here. I hope we turn next to a small chapter, chapter 9. I hope to see you then, and we'll hope everyone is. You have any questions or concerns, please, or questions, concerns, or issues regarding chapter 8, please put them below, and when I see them, I respond to them. My eyes are kind of foggy right now, so. Um, the other thing is, if you've liked it, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Share it. Share the thing. Share it with your friends. Share it in your social media. Forward it to a friend. Bring attention to it. If you've not subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. If you think you're subscribed, maybe you've been unsubscribed. Check to make sure you're subscribed. If you know some friend who might be interested, get them to subscribe. Encourage. Let's grow let's grow our channel a little bit. You can always go see the backlog of what I've done and the different things, the different books and things like Aristotle's Politics, Machiavelli's Prince, and other things. Please go check them out. In other words, but if you didn't like what I did, I have a problem. You didn't like what I did, tell you I did something wrong or something like this. You want to give me a negative, you can hit the thumbs down, but say why you didn't like it or what's wrong in the comments, so I can know what's that. We can learn, right? We can learn. If you want to, you can follow me on social media. Links are below. If you want to follow me, if you want to know more about me as a scholar and follow my scholarship, you can go underneath the social media links. There's the academic social media links and things about it there. That you can follow my, the stuff about me as an academic and see my scholarship that's available on some of the sites, academic social media sites. If you want to help me do what I do a little bit, you want to contribute in this sense, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. I have accounts there in that sense. Another way you can help is to buy one of my books that are listed below. Okay, that's it for this day. We can look at we'll be looking at chapter 9 in our next video. Take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.